It's a year and a half that I sold my MacBook and also my iPad 11 inches for buying this iPad 12 inches. Why that? Because I realized that having two devices for me was more a burden than a benefit. And what I wanted to do in this video is sharing with you not the technology part of why I choose an iPad over a MacBook or whatever, but more what I have learned in the last 18 months using just the iPad for my personal stuff. Obviously, I have a MacBook that I use every day for work. That is the one provided by my company. But this one is now my main powerhouse for creating videos, for writing, for even writing code time to time. So it's really what I need for expressing myself in the digital world. When I decided to do the switch, I decided mainly because there was the new feature for extending the monitor, not the mirroring one. And then I thought, okay, with Stage Manager and the capability that iPad has, especially with the M2 processor, I think I can do quite a lot. Especially, I was interested to mainly doing video editing and writing and so on and so forth. At the beginning, my main idea was, okay, I take two devices that I partially use because obviously I used mainly my MacBook because it was more convenient at the time, but my iPad Pro 11 was an investment that I didn't use that much. So I thought, okay, what can I do for, let's say, saving some money, making something better? So I saw both of them. I bought the iPad Pro 12 inches and I started to think, okay, let's see how it goes. If the experience of the new iPad with the extension of the monitor, with all the capabilities, the new processor, with the possibility even to have DaVinci Resolve in the iPad could make my life easier. To my surprise, it does. And not only for the technical capability, but for one key feature that I didn't have in the past using just my Mac. The iPad taught me to focus more on what I'm doing. But let me explain you better. Very often when I'm using my Mac, I have like bazillion of tabs open and I have like several windows and everything overlaps to the other. I constantly switch between applications and maybe I'm doing one thing, but then I'm thinking to another one. And I understood over time that I was missing the point. I was missing a fantastic opportunity to be more productive and be focused on one specific task only. Not because the MacBook or any other device didn't allow me to do that. It's mainly because I was missing a main point. Because of the small screen of iPad and the fact that you can have like a maximum of 2-3 windows if you want to do something open with Stage Manager on the iPad, it helped me to rationalize better what task I need to do. Now with my iPad, I organize the screen in a way that I have maybe only the social media applications open. I have maybe only Notion open because I want to do a brain dump of a specific idea, or I'm writing my morning pages and so on and so forth. So with the iPad, what I learned to organize myself in different tasks. And now I started to do the same also on my Mac. What I'm doing currently with my Mac is that I have multiple desktops and every desktop has a specific task. There is one with Visual Studio Code, just for coding, and maybe the terminal and maybe a browser window. Then I go to another one, I just have the communication part. So I have Slack, I have Outlook, and in another one, I have the research part. So maybe I have just the browser, and another one, I have the online meetings that I usually do with Zoom or with Chime, etc. So this mental model allowed me to switch and focus only on one thing more than having a bazillion of windows that are open in front of me. The iPad also helped me to really focus not only from organization perspective, but thanks to the focus mode that Apple is providing to you. It's available in all the Apple devices, but for some reason with iPad came natural to me. I don't know if it was me that I mature enough the idea that I had to become more productive, or it was the way how iPad works. But I found myself very often, especially in the evening when I create these videos or I start to write a blog post or writing some code, that I immerse myself way better. What I'm applying with the iPad when I'm working in the evenings now is applied in my life. It's more modular. I have a desk that is more modular. I have my MacBook that I'm starting to think in a better way or a more productive way how to focus on certain things. I read several books on productivity and focus that definitely helped me to crystallize certain ideas that were growing in myself, and now I'm applying on every device. The modularity and approach that I use with the iPad, with widgets and everything, is now also on my iPhone. I started to build a second brain this year, and if you're not familiar with the concept, I will explain you more in the next video that I want to record around the second brain, how I'm journaling, the new habits for 2024. When I use a Mac, I usually struggle to find a tool that help me to visualize what I'm thinking. Because the problem is I'm a very visual person, so I need to see what I'm thinking. I need to see if it has legs. Very often, when I'm preparing a public talk or I have a new architecture in mind, I try to draw it and see if it makes sense, and try to challenge myself with this stuff. And with the iPad came extremely natural. The usage of the pen, for instance, is for me fundamental, is a tool or an accessory that I recommend to everyone, because the fact that I can draw things on my iPad and see if they make sense and remove that and cancel that very quickly, it helps me a lot. Also, I don't like too much doing that on paper, because I'm in brainstorming phase at that stage. So I'm drawing something, maybe I'm deleting, and I don't like confusion. I need to have clarity of mind. And with the iPad, because everything is digital, I can do that very quickly. Another example is what I'm doing with Notion. I started with Notion using the iPad, and I installed that, and I started to think, okay, so how would look like my second brain, how I can collect all my thoughts and ideas in a place that is productive for me. And the iPad allow me to really have that window only, less distractions, and the focus mode also help me to reduce the noise in my head and the noise in the environment, and really focus on what I want to do. And slowly but steadily, in a few weeks, I built my second brain that now is available in all the devices. And I really like the simplicity and the minimalism that iPad provides, because for some reason, the fact that the iPad create a bit of friction, if you want, due to the constraint of the monitor size that we have, it helped me to just doing one thing well and not thinking on bazillion of other things like I usually do with a Mac. Another thing that I really like about the iPad is that helps me a lot when I'm researching or studying or thinking of new ideas, or how to connect ideas that I have in my brain but are, let's say, still isolated. The fact that I can use that very easily on the sofa while I'm relaxing, watching maybe some videos on YouTube, see how others are doing videos like that, or thinking about reading a book or stuff like that. The versatility, I would say, is incredible. Another thing that I like about iPad is when I'm reading books, because when I download the digital version on Kindle or have a PDF that I'm reading, I can highlight stuff directly on the iPad. I can copy and paste inside Notion. I can rearrange my thoughts and why I think that specific information is important. Am I suggesting you to sell your laptop and have just an iPad? No, definitely that's not the purpose of this video. What I'm trying to do is giving you the idea that the iPad is a tool and you can apply all the things that I mentioned also on other devices. However, there are certain devices that if they are used properly, they can really boost your productivity. I know that the iPad is not perfect, and let me give you a couple of examples. When I'm coding, it took a while for setting up everything. I downloaded the Blink app for having Visual Studio Code that is running on code spaces in GitHub or with Gitpod, and it's very nice because I can immediately spin up Visual Studio Code. That is my favorite IDE, and I can connect it and have all my preferences already available in this sandbox where it's running Visual Studio Code, but the experience is not as sleek as you would have with a Mac. Let's be honest. It's great for doing POCs or where I'm learning a new programming language or for doing small things that I have in mind. For instance, now I'm trying to use Notion as a CMS for building a website and just to see how everything spun out and can be say integrated. But the reality is I'm still more comfortable and I feel more productive when I'm doing this specific task on a Mac. Another task that I tried with iPad for a while, roughly 6 months, is editing videos. I'm using DaVinci Resolve, and DaVinci Resolve is a fantastic tool. It's free, and I could use on my iPad M2. It works flawless, and I really like the experience. I remember the first video that I edited, it was 45 minutes, was a talk that I recorded, and I took the iPad with me, and while I was on the plane, I had like 2 hours flight, I was editing my stuff, and the experience was nice, especially with the pen. You can do like good editing. But what I realized when I installed instead DaVinci Resolve on a Mac, that the experience is way different because you have like by far more tools. Having a keyboard with all the shortcuts helps you immensely on the productivity side, and for instance, there is a panel that I use a lot for tweaking the sound. That is the Fairlight panel. However, I'm still using the iPad for editing videos, for short form videos, for instance, or when I'm starting to do an editing, I just need to cut here and there. I know it takes a long time because I need to remove all the part of the video that I don't like or they didn't come as expected. These are kind of things that I can do in mobility very easily, and therefore I really like this fact. But then I go back to a Mac and I create my template, I adjust the audio, stuff like that without any problem. I believe the iPad has its own merits when it comes to writing, or when we are studying, researching, when we are handling our personal things, we have a second brain, or we are doing journaling, or these activities for iPad is a perfect tool, and I believe that is worth the investment for these kind of things. So if you are a person that wants to spend more time on those kind of activities, I think the iPad is more than enough for what you need to do. One thing that I asked myself recently is, would you replace your iPad with a MacBook? And I think the answer is still no. It's not because the iPad or a MacBook are better from each other, but I found my dimension. And I think it's very important to achieve that, because when you are finding your dimension, you have all the tools that are working for you to express yourself, then you are in a sweet spot for making the most with whatever you have. I think you need to think about the iPad differently. It's not a Mac, and you shouldn't compare with a Mac. You should think about the iPad for what it provides. The touchscreen capabilities, the fact that you can draw, the fact that you can have a great ecosystem of apps that solves many of the problems. What I really learned using iPad is that I decided to focus on minimalism more than feeling overwhelmed all the time. I decided to do more with less, reaching the standards that I'm used to have. I decided to embrace deep focus over having the possibility to be distracted very often due to the frictionless environment. I choose to grow as a human being, learn new things, and by the way, you can do too.